Okay, so let's start. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to our session on Tomorrow's World, a glimpse into the future of autonomous payments. Today, we are joined by three exceptional individuals who altogether have 60 years of experience in fintech and the payment space. While they all have a broad background in tech, they also have a very special emphasis on the fast pace of retail and hospitality. First, we have Leila Van-Herbert. She is the Senior Key Account Manager for Global Accounts at Worldline and Genico. Frederic Frizzarin heads up pre-sales in Northern Europe for Worldline. Yeah. And our final speaker, Emma Maor, VP of Sales at Shekel Brainweigh. Today, we've got a lot of content to get through, and some of the topics include changing the landscape with autonomous payments, trends driving autonomous payments, understanding the challenges and leveraging the benefits as a merchant, what are the key technology enablers, and autonomous retail in action with Shekel Brainweigh. Now, just a couple of housekeeping issues. We have questions that have come through, but if you've got any through the session, please just pop them in the Q&A function and I'll come back to them after the session. We are recording the session as well, so if you've got any colleagues that want to see it or you miss any chunks of it, don't worry, I'll send you through a link with the recording after the session. Also, I'm the one responsible for the slides and the video that we're playing through Emma's section. It's going to be a bit lumpy, so just bear with me. Okay, Fred, do you want to start?
Yes, sure. Good morning and welcome everyone. So if we move on to the next slide, Karen. Thank you. And one more. Perfect, thank you. So in this first slide, I'm going to talk to you about automation, and we'll see throughout the course of the presentation how it's applied to the payment industry. So today, automation is applied in many industries and describes a wide range of technologies and systems that reduce the human intervention when you perform repetitive tasks. So a good example of automation is the technology used in a car assembly line that limits the time and the number of people required to build cars. So if you think 60, 70 years back, it took about 6 months to build a car, whereas now it takes less than a week. So that's a great example of how automation has managed to increase productivity as well as reduce time to market. So we've seen some massive progress in technology over the years, and that has allowed businesses to automate increasingly complex tasks, as well as coming up with new ways of working. So if you think about the YouTube business model, for instance, it relies on millions of users uploading content to their platform. However, they need to respect the rights of copyright holders and check every single video to make sure that there's no copyright infringements. And there's over 500 hours of video uploaded every minute, and manually checking every video would be just too time consuming and expensive. So instead, what they do is they use artificial intelligence to check for copyright content, and they either block it or use paid for advertising each time the clip is viewed, and then the money is automatically given to the right holders. And that system even works when you try to fool it and either try to speed up or slow down the content, change the pitch of the audio, or modify the picture. So just going back to payment then, if you compare it with other sectors, the payment industry is already highly automated, and technologies and devices such as payment terminals, cash machines, smartphones, contactless cards, they're already well established. However, today these payments are still predominantly triggered by humans, but we'll see that going forward, these payments will increasingly be triggered autonomously by machines. So as shown in the diagram on this slide, we've defined 4 levels of autonomy for payments. So level 0 is what we call the informational level, is where a device can access a user's bank account to obtain information or data held in the account, but there's no transaction process. So the purpose of this is only to provide information relating to the data available in the account. So an example of that would be you as a consumer configuring your smart speaker at home to access your bank account through a voice recognition service, and then requests information like balance, account balance, a summary of your last week's transactions, or the amount that's been paid into your account. Level 1 is what we call permissioned. So at level 1, the device that you're using must request the consent of the user and be authenticated before triggering a payment. So an example of this would be you arrive at a fuel station to fill your car with petrol. Petrol forecourt has cameras to identify your number plate and then sends a request to your phone or your watch to authorize the payment to ensure that it is the authorized user that's refueling the vehicle. Level 2 is what we call conditional level. And at level 2, the device makes a payment automatically without asking the consent of the user under predefined rules set by the user to trigger the payment. So, for example, you can have a smart printer configured, so that's when it's low in ink, an order and a payment for a new cartridge is automatically triggered. And then the last level is level 3, which we call fully autonomous level. So at level 3, the device conducts a payment automatically using a combination of predefined rules, as we've seen in level 2, and sophisticated artificial intelligence algorithms. So an example of this could be a connected fridge that orders food automatically when it detects that supplies are low. The difference with the previous use case and the previous level is that this can be done based on a given budget and potentially taking into account the changes, preferences of the family members, as well as their dietary requirements. So the fridge, you could also think about a use case where the fridge may interact with various grocery websites to find the best available product. And it could also book a delivery slot after checking the family's digital calendar. So this shows how a connected device using artificial intelligence and multiple data sources can automate and fully replace human intervention. So let's move on to the next slide, Karen. Next slide, we'll talk about the key solution aspects of autonomous payment and what we see as the main pillars and building blocks of autonomous payment. So when it comes to processing autonomous payments, we believe that trust is really a key enabler. As a consumer, you have to be able to trust the technology, you must be able to trust the processes, and you must be in full control. So the question is, how do you achieve full control? Well, first, you should be able to define upfront what are the acceptable payment conditions. And secondly, you should be able to revert back any payment if it's not in line with the original expectations. So to achieve that, as I said, we consider that there are 4 different pillars which are centered around consumer control. And these 4 pillars constitute the foundation of autonomous payment. So let's just go through each of them. So the first pillar is identity and privacy. So as a consumer, you should be able to determine what personal data you want to share when you process an autonomous transaction. There should be auditability, traceability in case there's a dispute or the customer is not happy with the payment transaction. Second pillar is autonomy and consent. So as a consumer, you want to be able to control the level of autonomy you grant to a device. You want to be able to decide what degree of automation you're prepared to accept without explicitly approving a transaction yourself. So here, you want to control and mitigate risks by limiting the autonomy and the conditions under which a transaction can be made independently. The third pillar is payment means. So in terms of payment processing, there's now a really wide range of payment methods available to process autonomous payments. So you've got the traditional card scheme model where you can use tokenization to replace your sensitive payment card data with a unique ID. So that unique ID is then used to trigger payments. So you can trigger a one-off payment, a recurring payment, a payment by installments. You can also use instant payment to process payment transaction in real time between bank accounts. And if you want to perform peer-to-peer transactions and bypass the banking system, you can now use cryptocurrency. Don't know if any of you have used it previously, but I guess it may be some time before this technology becomes fully regulated and mainstream. And the last pillar is financial funding. So we've seen a big shift recently over the last few years, especially amongst the younger generation, in how we consume goods and services and in the way consumers are financing their purchases. So for instance, we're consuming more and more products as a service. And if you sell a service, your customers are being charged for must be closely linked with the value they're getting in the service. So having the right business model in place to support these new payment methods is key going forward. So I'll hand over to Leila now, who's going to talk to you about the trends driving autonomous payments.
Thank you, Fred. Good morning, everyone. As Fred mentioned, I'm going to start with the trends that are driving autonomous payments and what we're seeing today. Creating frictionless commerce solutions and evolving the way in which consumers can transact easily is one of the key trends in driving autonomous payments. Many sectors are focusing on how to retain and increase their customer base through continuous payment innovation, and autonomous payments is enabling this across market sectors. The demand for autonomous payments can be seen in both traditional industries, such as retail manufacturing, and also public transport, as well as the service sector, including banking and healthcare, for example. It is not enough to provide only traditional payment acceptance today, as consumers increasingly demand more flexible and innovative ways to pay. As we see an increase in globally connected devices that include smartwatches and other wearable technology that are fitted with trackers and sensors, the shift towards autonomous payments is rapidly becoming more possible and indeed mainstream. In these competitive times, merchants need to offer more than just the products or services that they provide. The quality and customer experience must also be second to none to retain and increase their customer base. Through innovative and frictionless payments, this can support the goal of enabling a seamless customer interaction and with less reliance on customer engagement during the checkout payment process. Autonomous payments can significantly support the evolution and increasing shift to frictionless payments and will become a standard payment acceptance method. Consumers will benefit from a true end-to-end payment experience, and for low-value purchases or repetitive purchases, including walk-in, walk-out solutions on public transport services, less energy and time will be expended and therefore reduce stress and increase usage. Merchants will benefit from higher conversion rates and more repeat business, especially through subscription models for repeat orders such as beauty products, streaming services, and environmentally conscious cleaning products, for example. Subscription models, recurring payments, connected devices, and stores leveraging in-app payment technology are continuously driving the trend for increased adoption in autonomous payments and helping it to become a mainstream payment method. The ability for businesses to be able to embed automated payments into their value propositions and create automated end-to-end experiences for their clients based on artificial intelligence, APIs, and the Internet of Things, as Fred mentioned earlier on, will provide their customers with a truly innovative experience. Thank you, Karen. We can move on to the next slide, which is understanding the challenges and leveraging the benefits for merchants. As with all new technologies, understanding the barriers to adoption by your customer base is key to progressing with and increasing the adoption of autonomous payments, and a user-friendly experience would certainly assist with greater usage. A key challenge to mass adoption of autonomous payments is that today there is a lack of an endorsed and consistent ecosystem in this space. A mindset shift is required here to create and build an ecosystem for autonomous payment between scheme owners, banks, and fintechs to build both business models and technologies that will enable and support micropayments. In addition to this, the requirement for platform openness and interoperability must also be considered, as this poses a challenge to the mass deployment and therefore adoption of autonomous payments. The online arena is dominated by the economy of platforms, and autonomous payments will likely follow this same path and philosophy. Existing APIs need to be leveraged to facilitate payment transactions that are triggered by connected devices across various platforms and stakeholders. There is also the consideration of keeping up with new regulations as part of the autonomous payments infrastructure. The 2014 regulation on electronic identity and security ensures that cross-border transactions can be performed safely and securely. The European Union is today proposing that a framework is put in place for a European digital identity to offer 80% of all EU citizens electronic identity for all online public services. Through deploying the European digital identity that would provide consumer authentication, it could therefore support the move to gain consumer trust and increase adoption and usage as customers become increasingly more comfortable with autonomous payments. The mass industry-wide deployment of autonomous payments will be driven by issues of security, scalability, and the ability to integrate easily the payment acceptance element. The consumer adoption will be driven by trust and accountability, combined with an easy customer experience. So, on to the benefits, of which there are many for autonomous payments for both the consumers and the merchants. The most significant consumer benefit, and not one to be underestimated, is the improved user experience and seamless payment journey, combined with the ability to offer more self-service payment options, which will allow the consumer to operate more independently with merchants' platforms as they purchase goods and services. This is especially appealing to those who prefer to self-serve in environments such as vending or fully autonomous shopping experiences without a traditional checkout model. The reduction in payments infrastructure and the ability to offer payments, instant payments, go hand in hand as a benefit for both the merchant and the consumer. Less payments infrastructure reduces costs and platform management for merchants, whilst increasing the speed of the transaction and funds through instant payments. Examples of this can be found in automated road tolls, where payment is taken automatically based on usage. For the consumer, the speed at which they can make the payment reduces the stress and unnecessary steps in the checkout or payment process. Through the use of artificial intelligence, customer engagement can be increased with autonomous reward schemes and thus increasing consumer loyalty to your brand. Business growth can be created through both the integration of new payments ecosystems as well as opening up business sharing platforms to again create and increase frictionless payment environments for consumers. New business models for subscription services can be created and deployed efficiently, such as mobility as a service, to support the need for more eco-friendly and efficient transport solutions. The ability to support cost control for merchants by improving and monitoring better insights for treasury teams and finance control management by providing instant payments, reducing payments infrastructure in place, and also the administration related to managing payments, as well as the associated auditing within their businesses. The benefits for both merchants and consumers are significant here and go hand in hand with the trend towards the evolution of more and more frictionless payment solutions. Thank you, Karen. We can hand back now to Fred, who's going to cover the key technology enablers.
Yeah, thank you, Leila. So let's talk about some of the key technologies that businesses who want to implement autonomous payment will need to consider. And Karen, if you move on to the next slide. So these technologies are listed in the diagram on this slide, and the diagram also shows how soon we think they'll need to be adopted and what potential impacts they'll have on the payment landscape. So don't worry, I'm not going to be talking through every single one of them, but let's just pick a few, and let's start with 5G. So we know that a solid mobile and comms network, which provides high bandwidth and low latency, is key to increasing frictionless payment and also key to speeding up mobile payments. So it also enables much more data to be collected from a much wider range of sources, which can then be fed into artificial intelligence algorithms, as we've seen in previous examples. So let's imagine, a city with great 5G coverage, and you can imagine street lights being autonomously ordered when they need to be replaced, and payments being autonomously triggered for street light replacements and repair. So that's a good example of how 5G would actually make that happen and make that a reality. Artificial intelligence, one that we've mentioned a few times already, is another key technology that can be applied to many payment services and applications. So like chatbots, payment orchestration, fraud prevention, personalized shopping, all these applications can benefit from AI by automating complex processes and also improving the customer's shopping experience. Device authentication is really important. So in order to process payment on behalf of the device owner, there's a need to authenticate the connected device. A very basic example of that is 3D Secure, which allows you, consumer, to authenticate yourself to a card issuer when you perform an online transaction. And finally, interoperability is key. Leila touched on that in one of the as a challenge in a previous slide. So diversity of platforms, standards, and protocols can lead to very complex and costly integrations. So it's very important that these services speak a common language and use open standards and APIs. Okay, so that concludes the slide on the key technology enablers, and I'm going to hand over to Emma now, who will talk about autonomous retail in action with Shekel.
Thank you very much, Fred. So hi, everyone. I'm Emma. I'm the VP Sales of Shekel Brainweigh. Shekel is a well-established 50-year-old company pioneering the digital weighting technology. So personally, I have started my technological journey in retail in Paris, France. That was at the beginning of the millennium, when e-commerce just emerged. Retail and technology continue to work closely together. And today, I'd like to speak about the newborn, the autonomous retail. So it's not exactly the brick and mortar store, but definitely not the online one. It's a new market approach, hand in hand with the technological growth, aimed to create tomorrow's world value to retailers and customers. So in similarity to the online shopping 2 decades ago, autonomous shopping is a whole new language to adopt, with pros and cons and not enough experience to learn from. So today, I will not only speak about autonomous shopping, but I will also give you the holy grail of its greatest success factor, the event-driven technology. So thank you, Karen. Let's go on the store structure. Autonomous retail is based on the traditional brick and mortar store, netted with the recognition technologies for products and customers in order to create a double identity shopping basket, an actual and a virtual, matching, of course. That's the goal. So the core tech of the project is recognizing customers and products, but not only. It also includes access control, check-in and check-out that can present in various possibilities, connection to your POS system at the retailer, payment clearing, like my colleagues from Worldline just presented, and advanced store design to serve the technology, to allow technology to serve you. And of course, some collateral services like customer shopping app, loyalty cards, and so forth. So the high-level idea is to allow customer enter the store, grab whatever he wants, and exit with no further action. But in real time, entering requires some kind of recognition together with a payment method. So checking out needs to be approved by the customer and maybe even by the store policy, confirm the basket content. Still, process is quite joyful and very, very frictionless. So why would you go autonomous? There's various advantages of going autonomous. First of all, you can expand your working hours. You can open the store 24/7 in various possibilities like fully autonomous or maybe a hybrid model based on time and space. You can also embrace the tendency of small businesses in urban environments of high traffic places that permits you better proximity to your customers, but do not justify manpower employment. You can track your inventory in real time and as so, reduce operational costs, collect data, all transactions are registered, no problem over there. Stay innovative, over an attractive shopping experience related to your brand. Save time and reduce effort for your clients. Last but not least, increase income. We all want that, but for this, we need to choose technology wisely and stay cost effective. So what about technologies? There have been many new companies emerging in this business, big money raised, but still, the market offers only two main technologies to serve the industry. We have camera-based solution and sensor-based solution, including waiting. So 4 years ago, when autonomous retail started to pick up in a serious fashion, all were sure about the reliability of cameras to deliver people and product recognition to satisfactory. Today, it is not anymore so obvious. Cameras are costly. Several units are needed with square meter coverage. They have shelf limitation. We will see that in a second in one of the videos. We cannot go into deep product picking, and new product entry is not something any employee can handle. They also present high operational costs, among other challenges and overcome. So Shekel company gave product recognition a different approach. Shekel operates in retail and healthcare since a few decades. And 4 years ago, the company developed an algorithm permitting to recognize products pick up and put back based on their IoT load cells technology, offering real-time events, the autonomous holy grail. I mentioned it before. We use the same thinking approach regarding customer tracking by using LiDAR sensors that are 100% GDPR compliant and together with Shekel waiting technology, present extra thin compute necessity. A 50 square meter store can be handled with one server only. Why am I telling you that? Because low data processing is the golden door to real-time events management. So real-time events are the heart and soul of the frictionless, autonomous, new AI-powered retail area. With no retail events, don't take the step forwards to go autonomous. Tomorrow's world is based on real-time events, especially in the frictionless technology that aims to make online and retail shopping experience faster, smoother, easier for the customers, your customers, aiming for those values, faster, easier, smoother. So real-time events are when the software executes in response to receiving one or more event notifications from a user. The opposite will be when an event-driven program is acting or will be acting regardless to user input. One can say that almost all known programming are defined to respond to a user action. You're right, a mouse click is an event-driven programming. Mouse click is tied up to a specific request or service that is predefined and the system answers to the user request. So event-driven architecture is maybe easier if I give a metaphor and you can understand it when it comes to logistics, security, fleet management domains. Familiar example from our everyday life is Uber app. Opening Uber's app instantly creates an action of location determination and search for a cab. From that point, you can follow your driver position, receive best route to your destination, and so forth, all in real time. So this makes it the most efficient transportation digital service we know today. Uber already has many competitors on the market, yet they maintain great market share by promoting two key activities. Constantly develop the event-driven architecture of their app, always improve engagement between drivers and riders. So how about we see what happens? Karen, if I may ask you to put on the first video. I would like to show you, to demonstrate you, the high point of real-time shopping experience and the opposite of it. So this experience is in a store, which is the state-of-the-art autonomous store, but has no real-time events. What you see over here is actually coming in with a QR code into the store. Look at the shelf. When I told you about the deep product picking, you have only 2 rows of products. You cannot go deeper. The store is full with cameras, and you see this customer over here that I'm coming to it, and he's all dieseled. He looks at the app, he says, I don't see what is going on. He takes a product, he thinks maybe I got this all wrong, maybe I'm not doing this well. So although the effort of creating a cutting-edge frictionless shopping experience with a simple QR code and frictionless payment process, you can see that this is not working. Why? Because the customer is losing time. He is not trusting in the technology. In this particular case, as well, the customer exited the store, not before he went to the hostess, because the store had a full-time employed hostess, to check the annulment of his invoice. Why? Because again, the invoice comes only 20 minutes later. So now the same experience with a real-time event notification will solve all the hard work, wouldn't it? All becomes explicit, easy, and understandable. But before we go to the next video, I would like to speak to you about your ROI, your benefit, the retailer. Real-time events can derive value for you. You can respond to the customer's action and make smart decisions on the spot. Let's look at an example of a customer journey within an actual project that I'm finalizing at the moment with Shekel in Israel. So it's 5 p.m. in a fresh daily store, like a well-known pret-a-manger concept that you all know. Customer is picking a sandwich from the shelf. The product, wait just a second with the video. I just want to give this value for the retailer. Thank you. So customer is picking up a sandwich from the shelf, and the product aware technology sends an immediate product recognition to the customer shopping app. So we just to give you an idea, we're talking less than 3 seconds latency. So the sandwich appears on the app with the product visual to enhance the fun, innovative shopping experience. The event-driven solution allows the store owner to create additional value by proposing a complementary beverage, for example, for a reduced price, maybe even a second sandwich, 1+1, because it's the end of the working day and those actions promote customer loyalty instead of going to the waste. This can only happen if you are able to acknowledge real-time events. Sound simple? Not quite. Not many companies can ensure and synchronize an ever-increasing number of events on a non-blocking platform and be creative in real-time data management. The quicker the communication, the greater the efficiency and the business grows. So this requires highly responsive architecture, resilient, elastic, and message-driven. Let's look at this other video. I would really like to give you a glance of Shekel performance when it comes to real-time events and value promotion. So what you see over here is actually what the first customer entering the store. So this is a store that we built with GK Software, a very well-known company. And you can see on the screen what the customer is actually seeing on their own app. Everything that is product pickup and put back shows instantly on the shopping app. Second customer is coming because the store is a multi-shopper solution. This doesn't disturb anything. Both have real-time events in the palm of their hand, and they can see what is going on. So you can have a little look at this still. You can see it's the same thing for fridges, for cool shelves, for dry shelves. And of course, once they are going to exit the store, they will almost instantly, it takes about 20 seconds to have the invoice and to see what they have been taking. So we can stop the video. Thank you very much. I think that we all got the point. So to conclude my subject, I want to tell you that real-time events is the utmost important decision to make when you're going autonomous. Crucial to derive value to your business and maintain long-term qualitative relationship with your customers. Thank you for joining me this frictionless journey. I hope you enjoyed it.
Thank you, Emma. Fred, Leila, are you coming back?
Yes.
That was really helpful and very useful. All you guys are so smart. I've got a couple of questions that came in on registration, and anybody else who wants to send through their questions, do so, and I'll try and get through them all. Leila, the first question's for you. How will autonomous payments become more mainstream?
Great question, Karen. Thank you. It's going to be through a combination of more autonomous stores on the high street and the expansion of the existing autonomous payments infrastructure, such as we see today in public transportation, subscription models, particularly around organic meat and veg boxes, as well as streaming services that have already brought autonomous payments into the mainstream. So that journey is going to be expanded. And as consumers become more comfortable with the experience and the trust increases in the process, alongside further merchant deployments, there will be a natural shift towards this payment acceptance method. And really the simplicity and ease of the model will support its growth by consumers and drive more merchants to offer the solution.
Yeah. And Fred, what do you think is the biggest barrier to entry for autonomous payments from the technical perspective to deploy in store?
Well, the technology to trigger autonomous payments exists today, so I don't think there are any barriers really from a technology perspective, although I think one issue may be the cost of deployment that can be relatively high still and prohibitive for some. So yeah, no real barriers. I think trust is key to increase adoption, trust in the technology, in the environment in which the transaction takes place, in the security as well. And I think finally, we'll need to ensure that the technology is easy to use and is accessible to all.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And Emma, is this the right time to go autonomous, or should we be waiting for the technology to mature a little bit?
I think, thank you for this question. I think it's a question that everybody asks themselves, is this the right time? So there's always a hesitation between being the first or let others do all the mistakes, right? I want you to be assured, we offer mature technology only, and I believe our competitors are doing the exact same thing. Changes may be required along the way. It's to fit any specific ideas about experience you wish to offer to your customers, or maybe some special products, maybe even tailor-made accommodations that needs to be developed if they make sense, of course. But the path to the future of retail is created by working on it, rather than waiting to see where it's going to end. So tech never stops, it constantly evolves. And we're working on this way for the last 4 years, and proudly invite you to join our exciting and successful journey. And I really want to say something to relate this to what Fred just said. Trust in technology is a key success factor, and it relates to this question as well. Customers need to trust the technology. Definitely retailers, but customers need to trust the technology in order to adopt it. Not only adopt it fast.
Yeah. I think if we look back and just, 10, 15 years ago, where chip and pin came in, and there was all, certainly in the UK, I don't know about other areas, and there was so much fear just around that technology. Now, I don't think we even question tapping our card anywhere for any amount these days. So I'm sure the trust will increase on a trajectory as the first stores open, or the first autonomous payments within retail do start to emerge. On that, who asked that question actually? Christian, where do you expect the first autonomous store to be launched? And I'm saying that, asking you all, does any of you have an opinion of where the first truly autonomous store will be coming from? Yeah, go on.
I can tell you something. There's a few hundreds of them already. Around the world. Okay. We don't really hear about them, and a lot of them, many of them are POCs. They're waiting to see how this works. Retailers as well wants to see how it goes. But yeah, we have a few hundreds of them, and according to any report that I have been reading these last months, we are going to have another 600, around 600 in the next 12 months.
Well, there you go, Christian. I hope that answers that. And actually, I'm going to come to this one because it is actually a really interesting point brought up by Sabina about how you get the right balance between human and machine, I guess. And this is, it's always a question, isn't it, as we go into a more technological arena. Leila, Fred, or Emma, how do we get that mix right? So we're putting the customer at the center of everything we do. We want it all to be frictionless. We want them all to, move at a pace so we can increase the bottom line. But how do we still give that personal service? Anyone jump in for that?
I can jump in. I can try and say something about this. I think, let me be a little thinking out of the box. At the end of the day, we want to create value. We spoke about trust, but we also spoke about faster, easier, smoother service, so values. And this is where it comes to the balance between machine and man. Machine don't offer values. They do something. if this something what they do create value to the customer and the retail, this is the right balance for me. So we need to know what kind of things do we do. We do technological things. We recognize product, or we do frictionless payment. How do we do it? We do it with X, Y, Z technology. But why do we do it? We do it to actually offer better, faster, easier shopping experience to the customer. If we're able to do that, if we're able to create values with machines, we are at the right balance.
Yeah, I'm sure it'll be a bit stop and start in some areas, but I agree with you. So as we have raced through so much content, and now we are 40 minutes in, so I do have to close this up. So if you've got other questions, please can you email them over and I'll get them to the team. Also, if you'd like to contact any of our panelists, I will send their LinkedIn and their email details to everybody who's joined us today. So never fear, you can have a one-to-one conversation with them. Now, one final question, and I'm going to go around all of you, and it is a personal question, as in just your view. So it's sitting a little outside your technology experience. Right, what do you think the future of autonomous payments will look like in your own lives? Fred, can I come to you first?
Yeah, sure. So I'm considering buying an electric car and have been for a while. So ideally, I don't want to worry about where to recharge the battery, whether or not there'll be a charging station available where I'm traveling. So in my customer journey, I want payment to be invisible. I want the car to use information such as the current battery level, number of miles left to complete the journey. I want the car to take into account my usual habits for taking breaks and food preferences to determine what would be the best location and time for it to be charged. So, you can imagine the car would be able to reserve a charging point and potentially even a table at a restaurant or a coffee stop. So when I stop to recharge the battery, I want to be able to relax. I want to be able to enjoy a meal, coffee, some food, which will be paid for automatically using, you can imagine a walk-in, walk-out model. When the car is sufficiently charged, I'll receive a notification on my phone or watch. And when I disconnect my car from the charging point, payment for the charging session will be automatically triggered by the car as I restart my journey. So,
Fred, I'm traveling with you.
Thank you.
I love it. I mean, yeah, there's times when we can't even get petrol for our cars. So I'm definitely traveling with you. What about you, Leila?
Well, I think it's fair to say that Fred has set the gold standard
Yeah.
what tomorrow's world should look like. But to build on that theme, for me, tomorrow's world will offer a plethora of payment solutions that are all going to be more innovative than the last, but really with the consumer at the heart of the journey and able to be as engaged with the payment process as they wish, or not in some cases. And really, it's going to be that combination of merchants providing innovative payment solutions and the continuous increase in smart devices, the Internet of Things, wearable payments enabled tech, and all of those things coming together to really bring you the nirvana that is Fred's world in payments.
Yeah, good point. Right. What about you, Emma? What does your world look like?
Well, naturally, I'm going to speak about tomorrow's world regarding the autonomous retail.
Yeah.
My personal belief is that tomorrow autonomous retail will include the 20% products that are generating already today the 80% revenue. Why? Because I don't think this kind of technology is going to go for the huge giant supermarkets. I think supermarkets or other retail, of course, because any packed goods can go autonomous. Today, technology can recognize it, and tomorrow, other technologies will recognize even the bulk fruits and vegetables. So for me, it's going to be a small micro market, unmanned spaces in high traffic urban environments, very proximate to the customer on an 18 to 24 hours, 7 days a week fashion. Why? Because it's going to give you real proximity to your customers. And it's going to give an experience that is like e-commerce, but brick and mortar. So low operational costs, easy, fast, everyday necessities, wherever, whenever.
Bingo. I think you've all smashed it. Look, that was really interesting, and thank you for your personal contribution as well. I'm sure it helps our audience get to know you all a little bit better as well. The prediction and the intuitiveness of payments going forward is what in equal measure terrifies and impresses me, and I'm sure that is with most of us. But listen, thank you very much for your time today, and thank you for joining us, everybody. It's been great to have you. Like I said, I will send out the slides. I'll send out a link to the recording and the details of our lovely speakers here. And if you want any further questions answered, just ping back a reply and we'll stay in touch. But I hope you all enjoyed it, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.